Hello everybody, James here, Storytime with Dutch Mantell, episode 144. There is Dutch Mantell himself chomping on a cigar as only he knows how to do, with the class and dignity that surrounds the entire Mantell family of cigar smokers. I don't know where I'm going with that intro, Dutch.
Hey, my dog is.
Oh, cigar smoker.
I'm going to have a picture of him one day. He's sitting there like, so.
Yeah. Chomping on a King Edwards or a Hamlet or something.
His name is Oscar. So, I was reading what you sent me this morning, and I like the way you do it, and it gets me to thinking about the show. So, and I think, and I'm going to say this up front, I think you prepared a great show today.
12 pages.
Great questions.
12 pages, this one. It's one of the longer ones. The people who don't know is that I write, sometimes copy and paste, but I send Dutch anywhere between 8 and 12 pages of format every single week.
I wish you would take the hearts out, you know.
Well, what else am I supposed to dot the I's with?
Oh, yeah. It was, do you miss me? Heart. You know, I think that might be a little bit unnecessary, but I appreciate it, though.
You've got to keep the troops on side, haven't you? For goodness sake. Right, let's, very quickly, the intro. We do the short version of the intro. Questions for Dutch@gmail.com to submit your question to this very show, not this very show, in fact, the Ask Dutch Anything show we do every single Sunday, or at least it's released every single Sunday, Dutch. So if you want your questions,
can you hear that?
No?
It's gone away now. Okay.
All right, then. Yeah, somebody's mowing outside Dutch's window, so anyway. Right then, let's get straight into it. They should stop it. Right, we're going to get straight into this. This is WWE ESPN deal. So ESPN has landed the rights to stream WWE's pay-per-view events, premium live events, really, starting in 2026. WWE and Disney announced the billion-dollar deal on Wednesday, stating that ESPN will host the wrestling company's biggest events, including WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, etc. So it's 10 PLEs a year, but 12 events because WrestleMania and SummerSlam are now 2 nights each. So we don't know what's going to be happening with some of the smaller shows, because like WWE did PLE-wise probably like 16, I guess, or are going to have done 16 in 2025. There seems to be one every week at this point. We suspect the NXT big shows will remain on CW Network, and AAA will probably just stay on YouTube or wherever else it may end up. But yeah, so what was the number? Where was it? Well, the old number was $900 million from Peacock, but this is well over $1 billion. 1.6 billion to be precise, over 5 years, just for 12 shows a year.
When I just hear that number, it's staggering just to hear it. I think, what the hell? And a lot of that is unclear to me exactly what they're getting, but just the sheer amount of money. And what is the fight groups called?
The fight, well, TKO. Or
That's
UFC.
UFC. They got like not $1.5 billion.
No. The UFC got a heck of a better deal than WWE did, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, WWE and ESPN 5-year deal. So ESPN's launching a new streaming service, Dutch. Are you going to get this? Or do you get ESPN now?
I get it. I don't ever watch it.
Are you a big sports fan? Do they not have College Game Day and all that?
Well, that's different. That's football. I don't care who's carrying football, college football. I'm going to watch it. If Bill's TV station down the street carried it, I'd watch it.
Well, apparently you're going to be watching more ESPN then, because they've also expanded their NFL rights as well. So plenty for you to be sort of watching ESPN in the future, I guess.
What is what now?
Plenty. Right. Why are you wearing them headphones, for goodness? You just like them.
I just like them.
Yeah. The audio's coming out of his laptop. He just likes he likes the headphones, because for some reason the microphone I got him,
well, I look
the
more
audio jack broke.
I look like I actually know what I'm doing. And I'm trying to hide the fact that I'm ignorant as hell of all this stuff. You've taught me more than anybody else, just by trial and error.
Yeah, I've been threatening to sort those headphones out for a long time. Anyway, we could get on audio stuff all day. Quote here, WWE has an immense devoted passion, blah, blah, blah. You know what it's like. ESPN chairman, somebody says, this agreement, which features the most significant WWE events of the year, bolsters our unprecedented content portfolio. Right, okay, here's the thing. I think to sort of justify, I don't know if it's justified. Put it this way, they would have to get millions more subscribers to basically offset this cost. Or at least well over 1 million, just to offset the WWE costs. And I don't know if they can attract 1 million or 2 million or whatever it is. Why are they doing this? And we'll talk about UFC, but why are all these streaming services overspending when it's like Netflix is the only one making money doing this?
Well, you're asking the wrong person. But they did call me up and say, would this be a good deal for us? And since it made wrestling some money, I said, yeah, go ahead and try it. I mean, I think it might be a good deal for you guys. And they did it. So I'm glad they're listening to me.
What was Peacock? They'd just gone a price increase, or they're about to do a price increase, but it was like only, I don't know, $8 or whatever it is a month. We don't get Peacock here, obviously, so I don't know. So that's now going from $8 to $30, assuming you don't already have ESPN. It's a pretty big price increase.
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're talking to me?
Yes.
Hey, what movie was that in?
That's Taxi Driver. What's the
Taxi Driver?
What's his character?
You're talking to me? You're talking to me? Hey, people, if you're listening, and of course, I don't know how else you would hear this unless you're listening. We'll jump from one subject to the other, back and forth, but hopefully it's entertaining.
It was Travis Bickle, by the way, who was annoying me.
This whole thing has me in not a turmoil, but I just don't. I can't see all that money. I can't see where it's coming from. I mean, how they're gonna make money from this?
Well, they're probably not. That's the thing. I mean, once again, like Disney or Amazon Prime or whoever it is, they're overspending in a war of attrition, where basically they want to get rid of all the, like Paramount, because UFC's just signed with Paramount. Do you know how much they've paid? So this is for all UFC programming. So they're going to have traditionally what were pay-per-views. They're now numbered events, so UFC 302 or whatever it is. So they'd be the big events with the title fights and everything like that. And then they'd also have the fight night events, which is like just over 30 of them a year as well. Have a guess how much Paramount. So that's about one event a week, just shy of one event a week. Have a guess how much Paramount is spending.
$2 billion.
$7.7 billion over 7 years.
That's $1 billion a year.
Yeah, $1.1 billion a year.
Yep.
I think the maths was done on this, and Paramount would have to get another 3-point-something million people to sign up to Paramount just to offset that cost, which they will never do.
I don't think so either.
Pat McAfee comments on the deal being signed with WWE. Congrats at WWE and ESPN on getting a historic PLE deal done. Great to see two powerhouses of sport and entertainment come together. I assume all the mid-level powerless bum-ass suits and ESPN will attempt to muddy this somehow. Out of context leaks, ignorant anonymous opinions, etc. But in the end, this agreement will outlive the dinosaurs currently guarding desks in Bristol, and this deal will be great for ESPN. Cheers to the future. So, ESPN and WWE is also interesting because obviously ESPN is sports and WWE is entertainment. So, I mean, what percentage of people do you think are going to be very snobby towards WWE?
That are there already?
Yeah.
Oh, that probably most of them. Most of them at the ESPN are purists anyway, and they look at wrestling like, nah, it doesn't really. ESPN started out with, the Olympics and the weightlifting and football and, the true sports. So when they see a hybrid, and I say hybrid because it's half sports, half entertainment, they kind of look down on it. And they'll always look down on it till they threaten them, say, well, if you don't start looking up on it, we're going to fire your sorry ass. Then they might start looking up a little bit. But it's a great deal for wrestling. It really is. And when I'm reading that, I went, wow. They have made, say just 10 years ago, gigantic strides in not improving the product, but let me say expanding the product. And they've done great. So I wish them a lot of luck. And we'll see how this turns out.
Yeah, like when WWE went to Fox in 2019, I think it was a 5-year deal worth over $2 billion. And then when Raw stayed with USA, the 3-hour version, it wasn't that much less. So they were making $4 billion just on rights fees plus over the course of 5 years, and now they're making more money just with the pay-per-views. And then the Netflix thing is $500 million a year for 5, 10, or 15 years, whenever whenever Netflix gets sick of them.
Okay, when I hear all these numbers, I'm saying, how did they arrive at that number?
Well, there's bidding wars and stuff, aren't there? And there's a lot of playing one company off the other. Well, this company offered us this much. What are you going to offer us? And for the most part, sport. Or even a pseudo sport like WWE, they're fairly ratings proof. They go down at a lesser speed rate on cable than nearly every other show that isn't sport. So that's why, for whatever reason, sport's so valuable.
And see, I don't even understand that. I don't even know how they come up with these figures. I don't know how they come up with these buy rates or the viewership rates. I don't know. It's all like Greek to me. Now I can watch a match in a series of matches and tell you where it's headed, but a lot of fans can do that. The money part, and that's why I'm not in the money at ESPN, because I don't know what's going on. All I can do is and this is your part of the show. You get to talk about this, and I can sit here and go, yep, I think you're right. Yeah. Okay, continue.
So you want to get to wrestling then? Oh, well, there is one more thing, actually.
This is boring.
Do you think? I like the numbers, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'll give you one more thing. We wanted to get rid of the old model pay-per-view, Ari Emanuel said. Mark Shapiro then added, it's antiquated.
It is.
Well, yeah, what do you think about pay-per-view then? Because, back in the 90s, 2000s, you would have your monthly pay-per-view from more than one company. People would buy it. I mean, what did you make of pay-per-view? Did you always just think it was a complete scam at the time?
It served its purpose, and now it's went the way of the dinosaur. It's an area Emmanuel, he used the right term, it's antiquated. It is. So
now it's only AEW and some boxing events and movies, both blue and not blue, that are using pay-per-view pretty much for the most part now. So
that's it.
In a weird way, I kind of like pay-per-views, because if you actually buy them, it sort of forces you to sit there and enjoy it. Whereas if it's for free, you sort of just go to the kitchen.
You're going to sit there and enjoy it. If it kills you, you're going to watch every second of it because you paid for it. I've seen people like that. The movie would be horrible, but they would sit there and watch it all the way through because they have paid for it. So,
all right, let's move on to
back to wrestling.
Yeah, let's move on to non-business terms then. Karrion Kross gone from WWE.
Well, wait a minute, I got something to say about that.
Oh,
did I say? How long has Karrion Kross been on this last run? 2 years, 3 years?
He went back in 2022, so yeah, 3 years.
Did I say it was dead in its tracks?
It's like every iteration's been dead in its tracks to a point.
Well, he was.
Yeah, there's been like 4 different versions of Karrion Kross on WWE TV.
They're all dead. I don't know what it was, but there was just something he just wasn't. I saw nothing in him. Great guy. I've never met him, by the way. I may have a different attitude about him, and he's nothing. There's just something with him and Scarlett that doesn't tip the scales. Nothing. And I said it was dead on arrival. It was DOA, and I've been proven right. And that's what the creative, they'll look at a guy if they don't see anything right away, you're kind of cooked. But in Karrion Kross's defense, it took them 3 or 4 years to finally come to this decision that there's nothing there, and they're right. They're trying to open up bust through a dead wall with a little ice cream thumper. They can't get through there.
So the first Karrion Kross run was a disaster. By the way, there are some people out there that still say that this might all be a big elaborate work, like the Seth Rollins knee injury. WWE are going above and beyond to try and fool fans and fool insiders and fool their own employees.
Well, that's okay. Look at what they've done. That's a lot of work just to damn have no dollars attached to the end of it.
Yeah, for 10%, for 10% of people, maybe. Yeah.
What would they get out of this? Nothing. I think they got other things to they can spend their time on, other than worrying about how we're going to get Karrion Kross over. After 4 years, you would say, well, hey, it's a failed experiment. But they tried several times. Did they or did they not? They tried to do something with him, and it just wasn't there. Hey, blame the fans. Fans, I'm blaming you. You're the reason that damn he's out of a job and they sent him home.
Well, the fans are going to come into this a little later on. I'm going to give you once again, I think I might have said this last week or the week before, but I'm going to give you a rough rundown of Karrion Kross and all the characters he's had. The first one is when he was in NXT. Forget about that. He was the NXT heavyweight champion when he made his main roster debut in WWE, right? And because of time constraints, keep in mind he was meant to be the big new bad guy, on Raw. He lost his first match. It was meant to be like going 11, 12 minutes, whatever, with Jeff Hardy, who was also on a losing streak at that point and was just very much middle of the card. But then, because of time constraints, Karrion Kross went out there and lost to Jeff Hardy in under 2 minutes in his debut. Mm-hmm. So that set off a bad precedent. Then he lost more.
That is.
And then, for some reason, someone sort of changed him into like a Spartacus kind of thing going on.
Well, you're more versed on Karrion Kross than I am. So.
Oh well, I've got tons for you. So after that, somehow was 2,500 years out of date of a character. Then that didn't work, and then they fired him. And then a couple of years later, Triple H, after he took over from Vince McMahon, he brought him back as well as a load of other people. And it was stop, start, push. He generally lost every feud I think he was in. Then he was in that. Then he was doing your favourite thing, the TikTok, holding up a clock and, not really putting too much thought into it and not putting any production values into it.
That was exciting. When he says TikTok, I looked at my clock immediately. And I told the person when the next segment was on with me, I would look at them and I'd say, it's only a matter of time. So you got to read between the lines on this.
Then there was Authors of Pain group, the Final Testament, which was terrible, and they never did anything with him. And then anyway, the point is that in 2025, so he's had bad character after bad character, and then 2025, he was given another bad character as being like a devil on the shoulder of baby faces and, trying to get them to turn to the dark side and embrace the darkness, essentially, right? And he lost every feud there as well, but for whatever reason, at the same time, he was doing little videos on social media and doing interviews out of character, which was so much better than what he was doing on TV. They ended up getting a fan following. And then his merchandise started to sell a few months ago. And then people were chanting his name at shows. And then they were even chanting his name when Triple H was at the post-SummerSlam not press conference, because don't ask me any questions about Brock Lesnar. And the fans started chanting, "We want Kross." And Triple H misheard it and went, "It's okay, I hear you. We want Brock. Don't worry, Brock Lesnar's back." He misheard them.
Oh, he heard Brock. Not Kross.
I don't know if he wanted to hear Brock or he actually genuinely heard Brock, but yeah. So,
all I wanted to say was I predicted this 4 years ago. I don't know what took him so long. And I hate when somebody loses their spot or loses their position. I hate that. But hey, it's the nature of the game. It happens in every competitive sport in the world, and wrestling You can say what you want to about it, but it is a competitive sport. But the real competition starts off camera, backstage, in the offices. And that's where it really, really, is happening, is because you got to have creative talking about you. Triple H has got to be talking about you, and they got to have plans in the future. I don't know how they could have planned in the future for Karrion Kross.
Well, apparently they weren't planning for the future. He said Karrion Kross wanted to talk to the company in January about re-signing with WWE, but it didn't happen until recently. He said, quote, "Many months have gone by and we never had a single conversation about it until recently, and I don't even feel like the conversation I've had recently was like an actual serious one. The conversation made me really angry because I just didn't feel like it was a real conversation. There really wasn't anything that was discussed of real substance. Actually, it didn't make me angry, it just made me profoundly disappointed, because I think about this business probably different." I mean, kind of at that point, you'd sort of think, I'm kind of getting the hint here.
No kidding. After 4 years, and you're going to have a conversation. It's supposed to be in January, but no, let's maybe July, August we'll talk. And then he's kind of teed off because it wasn't really a conversation. He just didn't want to hear it. I'm sure nobody else does either. But so now the question is, and see, this used to be a way of life for almost every wrestler, almost everyone, really, unless you own the company. So what's he going to do now? AEW, I don't think that's not. Now they might pay him pretty well. I don't know what he was making. What do you think he was making?
Ooh, I know, $500,000 a year, maybe. Well, consider his valet, his wife Scarlett, was there as well, so they'd be making good money between them. Hey, I'd be butthurt if I was getting fired, and because keep in mind, like, the minimum for main roster is $350. So the minimum together they were making was $700 a year. Man, I'd be upset losing that.
Just a minute. Hey, Triple H, I'm available. I'm just throwing it out there.
Dude, stuff you into a bikini and follow Karrion Kross around, man.
I'll do it. Okay.
Damn, yeah, for $350, I'd do it. $350, damn. One more thing, right? Karrion Kross and Triple H ignoring the chants that I mentioned before with Triple H and the SummerSlam post-show thing. "You can't ignore the crowd in this business. You can try. It's not going to be good in the end. You don't want to make your audience feel like they're not a part of this. You can't tell them that they're a part of it, and then they're the universe and they're so heavily involved in every aspect of it. And then, like on a whim, tell them the certain subsections don't matter. We can't do that. That pisses people off and turns people away." And here's the example he gave. He was told backstage when there was "We want Kross" chants, and people were cheering him. He was told by unnamed officials in WWE to ignore them, not to react to them whatsoever. Because in Kross's mind, he was... But I think basically they explained, we're not ready for this. We don't know what to do with the positive reception. So basically, Karrion Kross was ordered to ignore them and just carry on what he was doing, which was the problem in the first place. The WWE didn't care about what he was doing. They cared about the stuff he was doing off screen, but off WWE screens, and what he was doing in his spare time.
It seems like forever we've been talking about Karrion Kross and what they can do with him, and I have yet to come up with an idea. I didn't like his old gimmick. He was talking about an antiquated gimmick. I mean, it was just... It's almost like a second run Sky-Fi featured at 12 o'clock on some UHF station, and it's run its limit. And if they don't know what to do with him, and they tried several things, but I don't think they tried very hard, because you can tell when creative has their heart in it and they don't know what to do. And I saw that first time I saw him. It's almost when you see him, you go, I don't know what he had good size. He had a good looking woman with him, but other than that, I mean, you could get that just walking out on the street. But I don't know what kind of story they could have put with him. I'm still searching for a story, and I don't have one.
We will move on then. Bret Hart, wrestling would be better if. So here's the full quote. So there's going to be several Bret Hart things. He's been making news with a couple of different interviews, and Bret's always good for a quote. A lot of guys give me the courtesy of calling me and asking me, saying, would it be okay if we do this on TV? We want to do this as a sign of respect, but I wanted to hear you first. I don't want to steal your moves without asking. After you retire, it's fair game. They can help themselves to all my moves. I don't need them anymore. I take it as a compliment, and whenever I watch wrestling and I see something that is obviously a salute, I take it as a huge compliment, especially from wrestlers today. They'd all be a lot better off if they copied me more.
And?
That's it. They'd all be a lot better off if they copied me more. Now, that one line has been taken rather out of context, but what do you think that means with the full paragraph?
Well, I think what he means, and he does have a point, because, and I've said the same thing, you have to. This flippity-floppity back and forth, just because they can do a move and land on their feet and do this, and that doesn't make the match better. That makes everybody see they're a pretty decent athlete. But as far as helping the story of a match or helping the story in its progression, you know, from transcending from one angle of it to the next one, I think that's what he's talking about. See, if you watch Bret Hart didn't get in a hurry. And if you watched him, a lot of times he was almost maybe just a little bit boring. But he was working to a point, and when they got to the point, then the match, if you go back and just watch the match, not in its entirety, but as a whole, you'd have to come, you might not say, it was 100, it was a match of 100, and that's the highest score you can give it. But if you think back about the matches, most of his matches were really, really good. And he tried to use psychology, which is now, don't even try to bring that word into it, because they don't want to do that. That's way beyond, I think, their thought processes. And this is what I disagree with him on, Gunther.
We'll be getting to that in a minute. We'll be getting to you. Okay. Hold your horses on that one, I assure you. Stealing moves, then, or borrowing a famous move. What's etiquette? Excuse me. What's etiquette, and what would you do if you saw, a spinning clothesline or something like that, and you really liked it, and then you decided to use it?
Are you talking about a move that I had?
Yeah, well, I'm being facetious because we've mentioned
short arm clothesline.
Yeah, I'm being facetious with the Jake Roberts thing there, but
Jake stole it. He said he didn't, but he did.
What do you think about stealing moves, or can you steal a move in wrestling?
If it is a finishing move, you need to leave it alone. Any other move is fair game, really. But if it's a finishing move, kind of get away from that. I mean, because if a guy has it over already and you use it, what's the first thing a really educated fan's going to say? Is say, "Oh, that's so-and-so's move. He stole it. He's a thief." And I don't think that'll hurt it, but still, I don't think you want people thinking of you in that way. You need to get your own stuff. But what was the question again?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, just stealing moves. So if it's a finishing move, leave it alone. What if it's a finishing move of somebody in a different company? Is that fair game for you?
Well, I think it would be. But again, unless you want, it's according to whose move. If the guy has the move over, of course, first time you try to use it, you're copying him. You're copying somebody else. You're not being original. But the way the business is now, I can't think of an original move. Can you right now?
Not unless it's like some ridiculous flip that like only two people can do. Like physically, rather than, I don't know. I actually don't know, because like so many finishes these days are so convoluted. And, if, still a DDT would work fantastically.
Okay, used to be when the business was a little bit more under the same umbrella. You like that word, that number that's under the deal. A guy couldn't, he could take a move and he can move to another territory. Now, this is years and years ago. He can move to another territory because nobody has ever seen the guy, the originator of the move. And you could do that. Now, the two guys may have had heat, or the originator of it may have had heat with the guy using it because he came up with it, and the other guy is using it like he came up with it. And they had a lot of trouble about that, but nobody saw it because that was in the days where it was the territory days. You didn't have WWF blanketing the whole country. And you just had different territories here and there. And it was a mishmash. It was really a hard way to make. I mean, you made good money. You still made good money, but most of the time. But I used to see some of these little territories. I'm going to say, how in the hell do they stay in business? Tell you the truth. They didn't have anything like an ESPN, putting wrestling on ESPN back in those days. They would laugh you out of the building. They would say, ESPN is not going to deal with wrestling. Probably what it was back in the days, it was a UHF type product. And that's where it usually ended up. A late night UHF product on top of that. So, and that was the reputation pro wrestling had back in the day. Now, through the years, it gradually, and you say what you want to about Vince McMahon, but he was instrumental in this, in increasing the visibility of pro wrestling through the years. And while in his personal life, he may be a little bit on the scummy side, but the business side, he knew how to get it. He knew what was best for the business, and he advanced it. Yeah. Now you throw in there Ted Turner later on, and this is when it started to move. When it started hitting that cable TV, and I didn't know it at the time, but at Channel 17, I was there when they was running the two different companies. Never before had that ever been and I'm going back years and years and years ago. Never before had two competing companies been on the same channel and recording their shows at the same channel, only about 4 hours apart. Sometimes we would run into, they did the show earlier, and I was with a company called Gunkel Enterprises, and they had pulled away. But we would run into the guys as they were leaving, we were coming in. Crazy.
Hey, you know that AWA was on ESPN for several years before they.
Yes, yeah, I remember. Yep.
Yeah, I think like Global might have been like very briefly or something. I can't remember as well, but yeah, ESPN has featured wrestling in the past though. Where was I going for? Yeah, one more thing about the finishes, I guess. So, what if, let's say, it's the late 90s. Let's say that you're in WCW.
Nobody ever stole my finishing move.
I know what the next question is. What was your finishing move? And I know what your answer is going to be.
Yeah. Well, it was laying on my shoulders for 3 seconds. Nobody wanted that move. I couldn't give it away.
Hey, a lot of people took it.
They did take it. They didn't want to.
No.
Out of respect for me, of course.
I was thinking an example, right? So Steve Austin's doing the Stone Cold Stunner, right? And then in like 97 or 98, Disco Inferno starts doing the Stunner as his finisher. And it's just like, why are you just one copying a finisher and then it just... all people will see is that you're copying Steve Austin's finisher. And the thing is that Steve Austin didn't invent it, but he perfected it, I guess, if you'd say. But I sort of thought the same thing when Kevin Owens did the Stunner or John Cena did the Stunner. But it's like if you were in WCW in the late 90s and you started doing the Stunner, I think people just start rolling their eyes. Go, oh God, he's stolen a more popular guy's finisher, kind of thing. So I sort of think stealing moves can sort of like backfire on you as well, if given that example.
And wrestling is it's a crazy business. It's a crazy business to be in. It's even a crazy business just to watch and try to figure out, because it can't be done. But anyway, continue.
I will do. Bret Hart versus Gunther. Right. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn all the time, but the best wrestling...
Wait a minute. Do-do-do-do.
That was the sound of Dutch Mantell tooting his own horn.
I was stealing the horn. See,
you'd toot another man's horn, would you?
I've already stolen the horn from Bret Hart.
Yeah. So you would toot another man's horn, is what you're saying?
Hey, I don't like the implication of that.
Well, wipe it off first.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn all the time, but the best wrestling has to pretend to be real. That's what I did. I tried to make it as real as I could, and contrary to that Gunther guy, who seemed like a nice guy when I met him, but I hate wrestlers that hurt each other on purpose. I hate it when you're out there getting beaten up and hurt by a guy for real and everybody thinks it's like chops. Whoever won a fight with a chop? Bret Hart asked. Now, I'm going to circle that because I'm going to come back to that. You know what a waste of time? I don't know. Ric Flair's famous for bringing the chops to where they are now, but I remember my dad used to tell the wrestlers in Stampede Wrestling, he said nobody ever beat anybody with a chop. And it's true, they hurt. They look like poo. They make a big slap sound, but they hurt. When you get chopped by someone like Ric Flair in a 30-minute match and he chops you 15 times in the match, your whole chest the next day is just bruises, and it hurts to even put a shirt on. And I'm always going, when I used to wrestle Ric Flair, and I used to wake up and go, why am I hurting so much? And then it's like, doesn't Ric Flair know that it's a show? It's not supposed to be real. I'm not supposed to really wake up with a really sore chest the next day. So I have no respect for guys that hurt each other all the time. It's just, to me, lazy poo wrestling when guys like that Gunther keep, and I've told this to his face, it's bull poo. Like when you're hurting somebody for real, you're unprofessional, and I wrestled guys and never hurt anybody. When I used to come back to the dressing room, my kicks, my stomps, when I jumped off and hit, all the stuff I did. And the beauty of what I did is that it looks like it really hurts a lot, but I never hurt anybody, ever. I could have done the same stuff to my mother. Right, okay. So, Bret Hart's got a problem with chops because they hurt, and the art of wrestling is to not hurt your opponent. Right or wrong?
Well, he is right. You can't hurt your opponent, because if you did hurt your opponent, now let's throw the chops out. If you did hurt your opponent, you'd get the stigma stuck on you that he hurt you, and pretty soon they just stop booking you, because you can only have the complaint department. What if wrestling had a complaint department and all the wrestlers come by? Well, he did this too much, and he did that, and you got all these complaints about you. But yeah, he is right. But I think Gunther is and I don't agree with Bret on this. That's Gunther's deal, because I remember, and I keep going back to this, he's the second coming of Johnny Valentine, and talk about a slow wrestler. Johnny Valentine, hell, you could go on life support and come back, and he'd still be after just the same thing. But him and Wahoo McDaniel, they beat the living crap out of each other. Now, this is years ago, but in that big Greensboro Coliseum, and this seats 17,000 people, when he would connect with one of those chops, and Wahoo too, you could hear it to the top of the Coliseum. And every time they would hit, and you'd hear people go, and then they could see it getting red. Yeah. But the one thing they couldn't say is that's fake. They couldn't say that, because the guy was leaving with sometimes blood coming out of the chest. Now, would I do it? Maybe not, because I don't think I could take that. I really don't. I'd be ducking and dodging, but I think I don't see anything Gunther does against what Bret Hart said, other than the chops that Gunther, I think he does everything perfectly. Not perfectly. There's always room for improvement, but I think he's the type of guy. He's got the size. He's got the look. He looks different, and he goes out there and I think if a chop is not real, I don't know what is, because Brad had almost goes exactly opposite of what he said. He tries to make it look real. What about making it real? It can't look any more real than what it is. So that's his opinion. That was mine.
Well, it ain't ballet, is it? I mean, no one gets into wrestling thinking they're never going to get hurt.
No, you go out there and sometimes, and I think Brett has never hurt anybody intentionally, but I think he probably has hurt some people along the way. He has to, because you cannot spend that much time in a ring in close contact with another human and not touch them in a certain way that hurts. It's impossible.
Now, you know me, I love Brett. This is probably one of his rare bad takes, I think, because he says, quotes, whoever want to fight with a chop? Whoever want to fight with a sharpshooter? No one. Here's another thing. So it's like, okay, so you can't win a fight with a chop. But it's like, well, Brett, you never want to fight with a Russian leg sweep, and you never want to fight or wrestling match with an elbow off the second rope, or you never want to fight with the backbreaker or a wrestling match with a backbreaker.
Hey, we could fix that. Gunther goes to chop him, and the guy said, no. All right, give up right now. I'm going to chop you. Okay, I give up. See? And he's won just by the threat of using the chop. And he couldn't say that anymore. But I love the chop. I think it adds to it.
What about you? Did you ever throw chops?
I hated chops. You know why I didn't throw chops?
Because you didn't want to get chopped back.
No, it hurt my hand. I go, woo. That's what I'd like to say. This would fit Disco Inferno. This would fit Glenn. He throws the chop and then goes, ow. To me, I think that would get a reaction. So,
is a chop a cheap pop? Do you know what I mean?
Could be. Well, cheap for who? The guy taking it?
Well, like it's almost on the level of like mentioning the crowd's hometown. It's like, because you're going to chop them and you're going to get a woo from the crowd.
Yeah.
Is that lazy
I don't think so. You're only going to get a reaction. You're not going to get it all night long, is what I'm saying. But the first one, when he lays it in there, you'll get a reaction from the guy getting hit too. That's who you see the really reaction when he goes, yeah, and he grabs his chest and he runs out of the ring. Yeah, I think Brett was a little bit stiff on that criticism, and nothing's going to change just because he believes a certain way. Gunther's not going to change it, and there's a lot of people who like it. I like it.
Well, there's the other thing as well, is that Brett seems to insinuate there's no psychology in using the chops, but Gunther is evidenced in a lot of his matches, of course, but especially with the CM Punk match at SummerSlam last weekend. I think it was last weekend anyway. That, he was chopping CM Punk and he was wearing him down through the match. Now, I don't know if that was absolutely discussed between them beforehand or it was a happy coincidence because CM Punk's out of shape and he's in his late 40s and those chops were just absolutely winding him constantly. So for 10 minutes in, he's shagged out. But, I mean, there's a psychology to at least the way Gunther uses the chops, because he does wear out his opponents, and commentators mention it as well. So there's a sound psychology, in the pro wrestling. I
think it works. I think it works for him because now he's associated with the chop. Now his opponent, when he chops him back, and Gunther sells that, now you got a chopping contest, and they say, of course, if you want to overthink it, I said, why did they just hit him with a fist right in the jaw? Which is I guess a thought, I guess. But hey, this is entertainment. You can't be entertainment and real at the same time. Well, it can be, I guess, but if you're not taking the punches. I guess boxing, if you wanted to look at it is entertaining to watch it, but you're not taking the punches. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but back to Bret. He said I don't think it looks like what did he call it?
I don't know. I've already lost the thing.
It looks.
Oh, whoever won with a fight with a chop, or it hurts and it looks like crap.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it does. We got a disagreement there.
Okay, one more thing with Bret.
How tall is Gunther? Gunther's about 6'5", right?
Yeah, something like maybe 6'4", 6'5", legitimate. He's a big boy. He's putting on a bit of weight as well, again, because he was really lean at one point, but I think I prefer him with a bit more chub on him. Just to, I don't know, makes him look more menacing. Not when he was like really, really massive, in the Indies or, NXT or something. But yeah, right, okay. WWE didn't give Bret a seat, so it's more Bret Hart news. Bret Hart wasn't given a seat.
Okay, I read that. They didn't give him a seat where?
At SummerSlam. So they brought him down.
To watch the out in the crowd.
Yes, yeah. They brought him down and they were going to show him in the crowd to watch the show. And then they didn't have a seat for him. But they did have one for Kevin Nash, unsurprisingly. Him being one of Triple H's best friends.
Now, Bret took that as a sign of disrespect, yes?
He did, yes. I'm going to read you the news article. Bret Hart wasn't given a seat in an interview that took place at the Vaughan Comic Con this weekend. The WWE Hall of Famer revealed that he was invited to the two-day event, which took place earlier this month, to sit in the crowd, but once he got there, he was told there was no seat for him. They invited me down, told me they wanted me to be in the crowd, and then they told me once I got there, they told me maybe they didn't have any seats, but I noticed Kevin Nash got a seat. Maybe I finally realised that I don't feel they fully appreciate me, even after Hulk Hogan's passing. There's no certain appreciation for anything I did. Hart was anyway, it doesn't matter the rest of it. Do you know what they did to Dana White once of UFC? They said, we've got a seat for you out in the crowd, and it turns out it was like right in the nosebleed section. They stuck him like in the worst seats.
Yeah, that would be a little bit disrespectful. You go way up and in section JQS 52. Yeah, that would be a little bit disrespectful, I guess. But don't you think Bret is just looking for things that he can kind of moan about? Because I think that might be his personality, really.
I think it's fair to say.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I think he's generally right, but I mean, do you think this is like an intentional piece of disrespecting of Bret? Do you remember back at WrestleMania when
I don't think so.
Do you remember back at WrestleMania this year, and Triple H was the head inductee of the WWE Hall of Fame? They bring them out on the stage at WrestleMania to, have a cheer. And Bret was there, and he shook Triple H's hand, and as soon as Triple H walked off, Bret turned around and rolled his eyes away. Like that.
Did he?
Yes.
Now, that's disrespectful. And the camera caught it?
Well, yeah.
Well, you saw it.
We saw it on this show.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right. Continue.
Right then, Danhausen tries to hire the APA. I've only included this just because it amused me, so I'll give us 1 second. I'll key up the video to watch. Okay, just before we play this, just off air, what did you say about Danhausen?
No, what I said is I don't know why WWE hasn't picked him up.
Well, let's see.
Danhausen is the perfect plan to finally decimate those ass boys. I have found some friends. Yeah, check it out. I found the ass-pounding agency. That's right. I'm here to hire you to beat up those pesky ass boys. You know Billy Ass's sons?
Yeah, just so you know that the ass boys are Billy Gunn's sons.
Yeah.
Bill Ass.
Billy Gunn.
Yeah, it says Mr. Ass on the ass, but, I gotta hire you to beat them up and take care of business.
I would kind of like to beat up Billy Gunn again.
Yeah, you can beat up Billy Gunn again. You can do that, I don't care. And I'll pay you, too, handsomely. So, get the Coke Zero. She's much stronger than Diet Coke, so be careful. You can split that. An apple, you can split that, too. And then I have cash. I have cash. Don't worry, guys. We're not going to have issues. $10. And it's real.
What's he giving them?
What say you? Are we gonna pound some ass or what?
$10.
All right. Well, I'm going to assume by your silence and not negativity that we have a deal. So I will see you boys later. Thank you.
That is the dumbest shit I have ever heard.
I like those guys. But see, that would be that Danhausen, they'd have to change his name, I guess. But, they could do a lot with him.
What would you change it to?
What was it, what?
What would you change Danhausen's name to?
Well, I don't know. Unless they could use the same.
Danhausen.
Something like that. They could come up with something. It's not the name. It's the character. And I've always liked the character. So where did he get that character? He just came up with
it's got to be self-created on the indies for years.
It's a good one. So I'd like to see him in WWE. He's tailor-made for them anyway.
Danhausen, his AEW contract was supposed to be up in July, but he may have had injury time tacked on. He hasn't wrestled for AEW since December of 2023.
Damn. That's almost 2 years.
Yeah, that's Ron Simmons' reaction.
Well,
I don't know if there's anybody else out there, but is Danhausen the longest reigning AEW contracted wrestler to not appear for AEW? Consecutively. I'm wondering if he's got the record.
I don't know what kind of business acumen you need to have to sign a guy for, say, 2 years and just say, stay home. I'm sure he's not staying home. He's probably showing up when they do TV, but they're not doing anything with him.
No, he's not. Well, he's not at TV. He's not on TV. He's doing a lot of indies. They've just hired him. They pay him money, and then he does indies.
Okay, those guys in AEW, they can still do indie shows?
With permission, yeah.
With permission, okay. So what does he do on an indie show?
Hypnotizes his opponents and does silly voices and whatnot.
So does he wrestle?
Oh, yeah. He wrestles too, yeah.
Okay. See, I don't know that much about him. Where is he from?
You see, I don't know that much about him either. Would you like me to tell you?
No.
Okay.
I don't really care, but...
Right. His physical address is... Would you like the zip code with it?
Yes, I would.
He's from Detroit.
Okay. And Detroit, guys getting in the business around Detroit, this far and few in between, I guess. Maybe a lot of them are in it, but I don't know anything about the independent scene there. I never heard anything about it, really. I always heard Detroit as a territory, just don't go to it. Because the Sheik ran it, and it was, Detroit, a huge city, big town. But they just ran it to death and eventually just killed the town for wrestling.
And also the Sheik never lost, which kind of was a problem after a while.
Okay, why would you think that the Sheik wore out in Detroit?
Well, maybe it was running too much, but I think a lot of it was that he just never lost. Like, he never got his comeuppance. He was like the lead heel.
Yeah, he was a gimmick to begin with. Gimmick heels are like gimmick, but they can only stay around for no more than, I'm gonna stretch this, no more than like 2 years, and you have seen everything. Well, you could see everything the Sheik had done in 1 year, and then after that it's repeat, and the people have already seen it. But he owned the territory, so where's he going to go? Nowhere. He'll work his own territory, and eventually, in working his own place that he created, he ended up killing it for himself.
We shall move on. Drew McIntyre blasts young wrestlers. So here's a quote from whatever interview he did. "You've got to have something that makes you stand out. You could be 5'8" and still have something special that sets you apart. Look at Rey Mysterio. He's a superhero and he's 5 feet tall. You've got to find your thing that makes you stand out. I give all this advice away for free in these interviews because all the new guys just listen to Twitter. And it tells them how good they are. They think I must be good. Twitter's telling me I'm good, even though they're not really on the show very often. All these veterans are here to ask for advice, but they don't. I give it out for free in interviews, and they just don't bloody listen, do they?" So, I mean, is this true? Did this change over the years as far as young guys not listening to veterans?
Well, see, I come from a different era anyway. You had better listen to a veteran when I broke in. That showing of disrespect wasn't tolerated. So all they do, they take you in the ring and just beat the living crap out of you. So finally, I don't care how stupid you were, you'd say, "Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should listen more and not just disregard what these guys tell me." See, the guys, if they liked you, they would come up and say, "I think you should slow down," or "You should do this at the end of that move," or because they were all watching and they were there to help you. And if they came up on their own to help you, if you just take their advice and just throw it away, well, that's disrespectful. Because here's a guy spent his life in the business, or spent a major part of it in the business. He's trying to help you. So at least appreciate the fact that he went out of his way to maybe give you some advice, whether you took it or not. And most of them would say, you may not like this. Why don't you try it and see how it works for you? Because it's all hit or miss anyway. And you're going to develop your own style. So he was giving advice because he wanted to. And now a lot of guys will come up and ask you, and some of them wouldn't volunteer anything to anybody unless you ask, which is, I guess, the proper thing to do. But these veterans were there to help you along. And if you'd listen to them, it would help your product.
Well, I thought back in the day, you had to sort of earn the right to ask questions and earn the right to ask advice. How would one go about doing that?
Well, how long would it take for you to earn that? Oh, I'd say you got to be there more than a couple of weeks. But after that, once you get in the dressing room and, the guys get used to you, and then, the younger guy could feel his way. You can feel a vibe in a dressing room. If a guy says hello to you and he seems to be friendly, and, you start a conversation with him. And of course, it's always done the same way. Could I ask you something? You always got to do that. And I said, yeah. He said, I just want your advice if you could. And most of the older guys would say yes. And then he would ask, and then the veteran would give what he thought.
Was there anybody who said no to you when you asked advice?
Well, there's some guys that I never asked Abdullah the Butcher for advice. I never asked him. Hell, it was a month before I knew he found out he was Canadian and spoke English. Mm-hmm. I kayfabed myself in the dressing room.
Hey, when did it change? When did that sort of, veteran status, venerated, or whatever word, if you like that word, Dutch?
Well, the more and the more the independents popped up, I think that's when it changed. Because, if you have a independent show, and say you're only drawing 150 people or 200 people, but yet the fans get used to the crew coming in, and you could really be over with that crew. So the main event in that little independent show, he didn't feel like he needed to ask anybody anything. He was in his own world, And they were guys coming up and asking him what to do. Hell, he may have only been wrestling a year himself, and he didn't really know, but the guy asking him and didn't know that. So, wrestling is kind of hard to explain. It really is. And the guy on top in the independent show, he may not have ever worked anywhere else except that one show. And he would work the show every time it ran. He was probably the owner or the owner's friend or his brother or cousin or something. And that's how it panned out. And that's why a lot of guys never learn, because they stay in one arc, one orbit the whole time, and they never get out and make the circle around and see what's out there. And one guy, if he's just going to work in one place the whole time, his career is not going to go anywhere. But he may be the star that night, but he may not be a star anywhere else.
When you were doing the Zeb Colter run in WWE in the mid-2010s, was there anybody other than Jack Swagger who would ask you advice? Or would no one come up to you and ask for advice?
No, nobody asked me.
Why?
And I didn't volunteer it either.
Well, I presume you weren't being standoffish. Is it just a culture of just the young people who don't want to hear it?
What did you say? I was standoffish?
No, I'm saying is I presume you weren't being standoffish. So was it just a culture of in the locker room that, hey, there's a veteran, ignore him?
They had agents. So if a guy got his match, he had an agent to work with. I had nothing to do with that match. I had nothing. I didn't know the story arc. I didn't know where it was going, where it was leading to. So therefore, if I'm telling him something and not knowing where it's leading, I may be telling him something that doesn't fit. So instead of doing that, that would do more harm to him than anything else. And he had agents, and he would go ask his agent.
So it's more just a culture.
We didn't have agents when I broke in.
Just as an aside, because I forgot to write this down, Jack Swagger said he was retiring from wrestling. He's got a haulage company or a trucking company now in Florida.
Yes, he does.
Yep, no, that's it. I'm just letting you know. He just sort of basically officially announced his retirement like a week ago.
Well, I think he was getting sick of the business even when I was with him. And then he went to AEW, and they did absolutely zip with him. They did nothing with him. I guess he made pretty good money. How long was he there? 3 years?
Probably longer. 4, 5. Wasn't he there from the beginning?
And he made money, which is the purpose. If you're going to have a wrestling position somewhere, make money with it. And I don't know. I think he was getting tired of it when I was with him in WWE. And then when they finished him up there, and that's how wrestling is you get hired to get fired. But in this day and age, you only got AEW to go to. And Japan, and I don't think Japan, they got so many companies over there now, they don't need anybody, really. So, but I want Jack. I wish him a lot of luck. I really, really like that guy. He didn't even know of me when they put us together. He thought, who in the hell are they putting me with? Because he's not a wrestling fan. I don't think he ever really, other than amateur wrestling, which he was very, very good at, and he was big too. He did very well with that. But he never looked over at me like, who in the hell are you again? And he was great to travel with. He took care of me. He really did. And that's what you need when you get a little older and in the business. You need people looking out for you.
He did all the driving. I'm presuming.
He was. I never drove 1 mile. That's what I really love Jack for that. Great driver. So, and he would tell me some stories, and he was a pretty good talker. Once you got him to talk, he's kind of a little bit of a shy guy. But once you got him talking, he had some great stories. And see, a guy has to be a good talker to go on these long trips, these 250 milers. If a guy is not a good talker, that 250 miles could feel like 700 miles. Because if he just sits there and watches the road along with you, I mean, you need some entertainment. You need some good bullshit going back between the two of you. And I've made some trips 250, 300 miles, and it seemed like you just got in the car because the conversation was good. So, but anyway, I wish Jack a lot of luck, and I think the moving company would do well for him.
Do you one more thing about Jack is, I mean, you can say this about a lot of people, but do you think he was generally underappreciated in wrestling? Because the thing he's most remembered for is being with you, of course, as you know, as the All-American thing going on for a couple of years. But, you know, there was beforehand, he's like, I told you he was a world champion, and you went, was he? It's like, you couldn't believe it. It was like a year before.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And then he was with Jericho in AEW for 5 years, and they barely used him there as well.
Jim Ross got him into business. So Jim Ross met him on the amateur team and said he may have it. And I think he paved his way with Vince, for him to go to WWE. And it was a good move for him. So, and he's been all over the world, and I really like Jack. I really like him. Good guy.
Next up, Brooke Hogan, Accusations. Now,
oh God,
there's loads of this, right? So she ended up calling in on Bubba the Love Sponge's, whatever it is, if it's on radio, if it's on internet.
He still has a show?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's obviously not what it once was. But anyway, well, this is where he was disseminating all this Hulk Hogan, whether it's propaganda or whether it was all completely true, you know, that he was on his deathbed, you know, over the last couple of months. Anyway, after Hulk Hogan died, his daughter, Brooke Balea, well, I don't know what her new surname is now because she's married, but Brooke Hogan called in, and they discussed back and forth quite a lot of different things, and there might be a couple of conspiracies in here as well, which I know you love a conspiracy theory, Dutch.
Love them.
So, on wanting to be taken off Hulk Hogan's will.
Yeah.
I was pregnant with twins and married, and my husband's family is so kind and so sweet, and I have something to lose. Money didn't matter. I was like, take me off everything, and I was sobbing. Now, not wanting to get mixed up with Hulk Hogan's new wife, Sky Daly, who has ties to Scientology, Brooke said, I don't want to fight Sky. I don't want to fight Scientology. I don't want somebody I love to get knocked off. I don't know how deep this stuff goes. It scared me, and I said, I want out. So she also says later on that she wanted out of Hulk Hogan's will because she didn't want to fight the Scientology crowd for the money. And basically she would have rather have just stepped aside and not got anything in the settlement, but, you know, not anything in the will for an easier life. What do you think of that?
But she said she didn't want to fight the Scientology.
Yeah, well, because Hulk Hogan's now widow is a Scientologist, or has associated with the Scientology types. So that's the first thing, which is, I mean, she'd be turning down millions and millions there.
Yeah, well, so what is your question?
No, that's your reaction more than anything.
I don't know what went on in that family. Who knows what goes on within families?
It's a weird family. Everyone kept saying that over the years. It's like, if you knew what really went on, that is one weird family.
Maybe. So, and I don't know. I don't even know what to comment on.
Well, I'll move on to the next thing. Brooke also said in a recent interview that she wants to raise funds to get a private autopsy done on Hulk Hogan's body. I don't know why, but you know, like a celebrity dies and there's always a conspiracy theorist.
He was buried, right? Not cremated.
Well, the autopsy would be a lot more difficult if he was cremated.
Yes, it would be. So
to do with a pencil.
So I'm assuming probably that he was buried.
Yes.
Okay.
We can assume that.
And
so,
why can't she get the funds to have him looked at again?
Well, for some reason, people are like, oh,
does she have the legal authority to even ask for that?
Well, if she's not in the will, then I'm not sure. Surely it'd be his wife, I guess. But his widow now. Here's the thing, though, is that people are like, oh, isn't that suspicious that he didn't have an autopsy? And it's like, well, he was a huge man with decades of steroid abuse and at times pain pill addiction as well, who had a sudden heart attack at the age of 71. I'm not really seeing the conspiracy here. It's amazing he got to 71.
But okay, if you did an autopsy, to find what?
Well, foul play, I guess, is the answer. Like somehow someone gave him an air embolism in his sleep or something. I mean, what do you think anyone would find? They say, yeah, well, his arteries were rotted from decades of bad living.
We might need to put a lawyer on this. This show has a lawyer.
Yeah, what's his name?
Adam.
What's his surname?
I'm looking for it. Burboxen, I think, but I don't
know. Burbrower, I remember it now.
Burbrower, that is it. And I'm trying to think about it. Now, Adam, if you hear this, I'm bad with names, but Adam, if you're listening,
send cigars.
I want you to write in and see if she can even order an autopsy or how an autopsy would be ordered and what are they looking for.
Okay, here's the big one then. The record contract. So this is from TMZ. Brooke Hogan knows best, and right now, what's best for her is getting back into music. Sources close to Brooke tell TMZ that after Hulk Hogan passed away last week, Brooke reconnected with her ex-boyfriend, Yannick Barker, a record producer and the son of the Sobe Entertainment founder, Cecil B. Barker. Yannick was the boyfriend of Hulk Hogan. Sorry, boyfriend of Hulk Hogan. The boyfriend Hulk Hogan was referring to in the infamous leaked N-word tape, if you remember that. Okay. Brooke's contract was dropped with Sobe back in 2011. But during this phone conversation, during the same interview where Brooke phoned into Bubba the Love Sponge, Bubba revealed that Bubba and Hulk Hogan himself fabricated a letter from her music label saying that they were dropping her. And then it was hinted that Hulk Hogan probably called the record label and told them that Brooke quit to get her out of the deal without her knowledge.
I don't believe that.
Bubba himself said he helped write the letter.
Don't you think they would have called up Brooke and say, what's the deal? Instead of relying on Hulk telling them, oh, she quit. Now, that's common sense. I can figure that out.
I think the argument is that Hulk Hogan was very, very controlling and very domineering over Brooke's music career. And and like all the decisions ran through him. So maybe if it was just a case of him calling and saying, right, well, we have made this decision and this is the decision and that is final, goodbye. Don't contact us again. Maybe they didn't. But you would have thought someone would have had their number and let her know.
I would assume, but I don't know. You don't know. I don't even think they know. So, hey, when I get my attorney on this, we're going to find out.
What would you... Okay, right, I put this, right. Above all the lies and politicking and racist remarks and questionable public engagements, if anybody screwed you out of, like, your dream... And, let's say, I know it wasn't your dream to get into wrestling, but you've been in wrestling. Let's say somebody screwed you out of a really, really lucrative, like, wrestling gig, and then all of a sudden you could never, ever do it again because someone had lied on your behalf. You'd kick their ass every single time you saw them for the rest of their lives, wouldn't you?
I would attempt to. It's going to have much money. But see... I'm kind of insulated against. I'm in the wrestling business anyway. That's all the wrestling business is. It's try to screw somebody else over, and to say that they're beyond that now. No, they're not, because that backstage politicking is going to go on forever. Because say Triple H is back there. One guy said, "Hey, can I talk to you a minute?" Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then Triple H could say, "Well, I got another guy in mind for that." He said, "Yeah, but listen, I'm the guy for it. He's politicking for himself." And because then he might say something the guy did, stooge him off or something. But he's trying to get all this, he's trying to get the stuff he wants to come to him. And that's been that's human nature. And it's not going to stop anytime soon. So
just a born carny, really, wasn't he?
He was what now?
Hogan, a carny.
Was he a carny? Yeah, I guess maybe. Because he wasn't a carny when he got in it, but once he got in it, he was. Because the carny has never left it anyway. Show business is carny, just on a hellacious bigger stage. That's what it is.
Does the wrestling business just fundamentally change your personality over time if you're in it for too long?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did, because it gave me an education, for one thing. It got me around a lot of other people that I would have never met ordinarily. And yeah, you're around different people, and they've traveled the world, and especially the Far East, Japan, and all those places in Europe. And yeah, I think it had a great deal to do with shaping who I am today.
We're going to go to the Hurt Syndicate. So, Heat Rumors. This is from last week, and there's a bit of a follow-up to this that I'm going to find the video of to show you. SE Scoops. This is from Hurt Syndicate reportedly has heat in AEW. Rumors have been swirling around about the trio of Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and Bobby Lashley refusing to put certain teams over. Now, Fightful Select has provided an update on the same. MVP has stated in interviews multiple times that he wants the faction to create new stars, and according to the report, this has resulted in the group refusing to lose to teams they don't feel need the win. Specifically, Jet Speed and FTR. Right, Jet Speed is Speedball Mike Bailey. This is going to come up again in a minute. Speedball Mike Bailey. And FTR. Now, I'll speed through this next bit. Apparently, Hurt Syndicate, according to these reports that were coming out at the time, so take it for what they're worth, refused to wrestle or put over FTR twice on 2 consecutive pay-per-views, so they ended up not wrestling them at all, or something like that. Anyway, backstage news, what the hell's that? Oh yeah, the teams, they do seem to be open to dropping the titles to the Gates of Agony, the Outrunners, and Private Party, but people within the locker room have pointed out that the Syndicate has already beaten all 3 of these teams. So there was also a discussion about the trio being open to losing to Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, but there wasn't any extensive talk because Ospreay's neck injury is sort of preventing that. They haven't heard anything specific about Benjamin or Lashley, and MVP seems to be at the centre of this controversy due to rubbing people the wrong way. The Hurt Syndicate manager was said to have made his dislike for Speedball Mike Bailey clear, though nobody knows any specific reason for the same. So, Hurt Syndicate, massive.
Who is Speedball Mike Bailey?
He was an indie darling that AEW signed a few months ago. He's a fairly small guy.
Yeah. Okay. And so what's the question?
So apparently they're hated or heated, or they've got heat, or whatever you want to say it.
Okay.
Because they're refusing to put over teams that are obviously quite clearly not worth putting over. Apart from FTR, though.
Okay. That tells me that whole ship is just floating out in the ocean. Doesn't have a captain, doesn't have a navigator. They're just floating to wherever they float to. And who's in charge of this thing? It's got to be Tony Khan, right? Tony Khan has to make the decision. Now, if they get Tony by himself, and those guys are kind of big guys anyway, they maybe get him to agree to a couple of things, but you can't agree with it just because they're in the room with you. You've got to agree with what's best for business. But I don't think Tony, because Tony got into business because he had $1 billion. That's how he got into business. And he loves wrestling. I got all that. But yet at the same time, you want people to watch the show. Now, let's go to the hurt business, I kind of understand their position, but that they shouldn't be putting over these guys that weigh 150 pounds, 160 pounds. I kind of agree with that. But it's not their decision to make. See, they need to have a creative guy or a booker guy or somebody who knows how to do some of this stuff, at least the necessary elements of it to get it to be halfway believable. And that believability problem starts when they're just looking at each other across the ring. If you see Bobby Lashley and Benjamin, they're standing there. I mean, they're like two jacked up guys. If you look at Speedball Mike Bailey, 165 pounds of him or whatever. If you're not even a wrestling fan, if you're saying, okay, if this guy here, pointing at the Hurt Business, are going to wrestle that guy there, who's going to win? Well, of course you're going to pick the bigger guy. So he's going to wipe the floor with him. So I don't blame the Hurt Business for saying, well, we're just not going to do that. Now, if I'm writing somebody's check and I want them to do something and they won't do it, well, we got a problem. So I don't know how they're going to fix that problem, but something needs to be, because they got money in the Hurt Business. They got money. I like the name too. I like that name.
It's a shame WWE owns it. That's why they had to be the Hurt Syndicate.
Is that what they are?
Yeah, in AEW, they're the Hurt Syndicate. It's the same thing.
But they need to come to see, that's one of the few groups that's kind of stayed together over there, and FTR. I don't know why, and they won't put FTR over either.
Yeah, we don't know why. Assuming it's true, of course, which is wrestling journalism, so it might well not be true. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting one. Why FTR? I mean, obviously, Jet Speed and Speedball Mike Bailey and Keith, that obviously, they don't pass the airport test as compared to, the Hurt Syndicate. And also, it's just stupid. The Hurt Syndicate are proper stars. Why would you, waste it on them? But here's the thing. It's like, doesn't WWE contracts, and this is specifically WWE, I don't know about AEW, didn't they have something in their contract that said all finishes are final, non-negotiable? You either do what? Final, non-negotiable. Finishes. Yeah, and it's like, well, okay, if you don't do them, you're suspended or you're fired then. It's like, I don't even know why this is an issue.
It's an issue because Tony Khan hadn't put his foot down on it. And he may, I don't know. See, that is a company, but Tony won't hire a booker, will he?
No, he's actively not hiring bookers.
He is the booker, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where he finds time to do all of it, tell you the truth. I think he's burnt out. He's done this for 4 years, and what are they doing with
6 years?
MJ? Huh?
6 years now.
6 years. What are they doing with MJF?
Oh, he joined the Hurt Syndicate, and then he left the Hurt Syndicate, and now he's AAA middleweight champion now. We don't know quite what's happening with MJF, but he might be heading towards a babyface turn again. I want to ask you this one more thing, right? So somebody else who was difficult to work with in AEW, it was Rusev, Miro, and then Tony just paid him to sit at home and didn't use him. And then he went over to WWE, where he will do what he's told, and he's on the most nondescript run of his career, pretty much. Because nobody even remembers he's there, and nobody's really cheering or reacting to him at all. I mean, I understand you have to fight your corner at some point, of course, Dutch, but where's the fine balance? Was MVP always this annoying to deal with?
Well, I don't know him that well. And I think he's reasonable, but you have to have somebody that can talk to him. But it's not the office's, I say the office, the company's place to really talk to a talent to get them to do something. Say, listen, this is what we want you to do. And there's no negotiation with it. You either do it or, we just stop payment. Because unless he does what you want him to do, you're paying him to lead his own crusade. And I don't know, that does not work. Like if you got a football team and the quarterback, he wants to run one play and the coach wants to run another, who takes the precedent? Who gets to, if the coach can't call the play and the quarterback's coming out right then. And I don't know what AEW's problem with, but I think they have several of those, I think, prima donnas. That's what we call them in the business, prima donnas that don't want to do anything else but what they want to do. But that's not, I've never been in a company like that, ever. Because what you're looking for then is total disarray. And you can tell by watching their show, sometimes it's not all together. I don't even watch their show anymore. I wish them luck. I wish Tony had a lot of luck. But Tony, you gotta be a boss one time in your life, and they either like it or they don't like it.
Just as an example of how wrestling rumors can get out of hand very, very quickly. So one of the accusations was that MVP has a particular disdain for Speedball Mike Bailey. So in response to those rumors, MVP and Mike Bailey filmed this little video and posted it. So one sec, okay, I'll play.
Once again, I'm pretty disappointed that Speedball. Well, you too, MVP. Wait, tell him. You Speedball. Well, you guys too.
There you go.
I didn't hear that. What did he say?
You didn't hear any audio at all?
I heard some of it, but it was
yeah, it wasn't great. They just said F you to each other for 20 seconds. As a response to those rumours saying that they didn't like each other.
Well, that was a nothing.
No, yeah.
That was a big bag of nothing. I don't get that at all.
Right, we're going to do two more little things. In fact, just one more, really, and then we're going to shut down the show because once again...
Okay, this. Where did he get the term speedball?
It's a mixture of different drugs. It killed River Phoenix.
It is not.
Yeah. A speedball is a mixture of heroin and cocaine.
But he's not really fast.
He's fairly fast, yeah. I think it's a play on words.
He wasn't the guy who they used to have a baseball stadium or something, and one guy would get, it's for the crowd. The fan would get the head start, and the other guy would chase him. The guy may have a 40-yard head start, and they'd go all around the outfield, and they would race and see who won. So that wasn't that guy, was it?
That was probably not Mike Bailey, no.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I don't blame him, but what's a kid weigh?
I don't know. Triple figures just, I think.
Well, I'm getting depressed now dealing with this damn Hurt Syndicate. And
don't worry, this'll cheer you up, and I know it'll cheer you up because you wrote
good.
me and told me to watch it. Right, so we're going to end on this. The Undertaker. Right, so this is an Undertaker video that you found so amusing that you said we have to include this on the show, and it's like 9, it's like 7 years old, but damn it, we're going to watch it, so one sec. So here it is. This is the Undertaker Irish whipping himself into the barricade. What's he trying to do?
Well, I think, wasn't this, I read later. Have the people seen this already?
Yeah, we've seen it. So
okay.
for people who are audio only, This is from that Saudi Arabia show, I think. So it's Undertaker and Triple H. So it must be the Kane and Shawn Michaels one as well. There was an absolute disaster from everyone apart from Shawn, of all people, who wrestled, the least in the intervening period. And so so describe for the audio listeners what we just saw there. In fact, we're going to watch it one more time.
Okay, they're outside the ring, and it looks like they're dancing around the outside. And Undertaker is attempting to give him an Irish whip into the barrier. But in reading more about this, the total story was, I think Triple H was hurt, and something is wrong here. And
was it brain hurt? Why would he just run? He just ran before he was whipped, and then Undertaker just ran in.
Yeah, it looks like Undertaker is escorting him. They're running together, and he finally pushes him into it. So you can see what it was. The attempt was, but it didn't come off like that. But I think, can you make my screen bigger on this end?
No,
you can't.
No, it won't work.
No, of me and you.
Oh yeah, of course I can. Here we go.
Oh, there it is. So I saw that, and I laughed at it for 10 minutes, which goes to show you, even though I think Triple H was telling him, no. But once you get started in it, it's hard to disengage yourself from the move. And it goes to show you, I don't care how long those guys together probably got 70 years in the business, 60 anyway, between the two of them. So it just goes to show you that, nobody's above a botch. So
there's a sort of follow-up story that I thought you'd like. So Gunther was on the podcast with The Undertaker. I don't know if it's still called 6 Feet Under, but I think WWE has bought the rights to it now. Anyway.
The rights to 6 Feet Under?
Yeah, The Undertaker's podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
So Gunther told this story, and he said, you can cut it out if you want. But then he says, I was in gorilla position, ready to go out, and I saw you there, The Undertaker there. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. I think you were sat next to Bruce Pritchard or whoever. And I was really, really excited. I was talking to Ludwig, and it's like, no ways The Undertaker's going to watch and critique my match. And then he looked harder and saw that The Undertaker was asleep.
Yeah. Well, that can happen.
Have you fallen asleep in gorilla position? There's a lot of people milling around.
Well, he was probably. I'm gonna go to bat for Mark here. He's probably tired. He may have been. I don't know where this was, but he's shooting that. What wasn't he shooting that L, F, and G?
Legends, Freaks, and Giants.
Tampa or Orlando or
yeah.
Somewhere. And you can go to sleep. A lot of times I've gone to sleep just watching their show. Of nothing happening, and he could probably be sitting there. And that is a unique, actually a good thing to have. Because in the wrestling business, you need to get sleep sometimes when you can get it. So, and he's probably learned that over many, many plane trips and car trips, and because sometimes he just needs to sit down and take 10 or 15 minutes. But the Gunther was thinking he was at go position. He was up there, and he should be wide awake or paying attention, and he was asleep. I don't find that unusual, but I do find it unusual that he was at the go position asleep. That's where everything is happening. So he may have just turned off all his external forces and said, "I'm just going to close my eyes here, and I'm going to go to sleep 10 minutes and see what that does." And Gunther he couldn't fathom that the Undertaker was up there to go position asleep, but it can happen.
Did the Undertaker ever botch anything while you were wrestling him back in the Punisher or Master of Pain days?
Say what now?
Did the Undertaker ever botch a move with you that was memorable?
Oh, yeah. He used to you saw him walk the ropes, right?
Yeah.
One time we're in this little, and this was I had promoted this show, and it was around Nashville, but we did a really good house in there. I think we had 500 people, and to have 500 people in a little, just what they call a spot show, that's pretty good. So, and Taker told me, he says, he used to get on he'd grab your arm, then he'd go to the corner and he'd step up the buckles and he would hold your arm for balance. So he would walk down the rope like a tightrope walker in the carnival or the circus. And he got up there and he was very, very good at that. And guess what happened? The rope broke. Mm-hmm. When he broke, and I shouldn't have done it, but I did, I busted out laughing, and I was laying on the mat like this so nobody could see me. I was rolling. It's a damn wonder he didn't get hurt. You know, he's 6'9". So what he would do, he would get on that rope and he would come off. But right when he got ready to come off, pow! And he fell. Oh, then he got up. Now he's mad. He's mad because he fell. Now you don't have nobody to take it out on. So he just beat the crap out of me. And I'm still laughing. And he said, "Shut up. It's not funny, you little bastard." So we got through the match. And I don't know. I'm sure he remembers that because I think he's told me he was like, he's never been more embarrassed. And he got and it was, you get in some of these companies, the rings are not the best anyway. So you gotta watch the condition of the ring when you get in there. See, a lot of guys used to get in there and they'd walk all around the ring. And I used to see these guys do that. And I asked one time, I said, "Well, what are you looking for?" And they said, "Well, you'd be surprised." They checked the ropes. They checked the condition. What they were doing, they were checking the condition of the ring. And they was checking to see if they had any dead spots in the ring. Because these rings were like hell. They were just put together on the spot sometimes.
Yeah, like loose boards and stuff could have been real killer.
Oh, yeah. And some board could be stiff, so you stay away from that side of the ring where the ring was stiffer, and you could feel it where it would give, and you really, the ropes. It is really a miracle that somebody hasn't taken a bump out of that ring when the rope broke and broken their neck, especially with some of these rings on these independent shows. But anyway, that was my Undertaker moment, and I'm gonna get in touch with him. I'm gonna say, "Do you still remember that spot?" So Undertaker, if you're watching this, which I doubt if you are, somebody will tell you. I want to know if you still remember this.
Hey, you should have your email because someone was asking on behalf of the Undertaker to get in touch with you like last year, but you were in the hospital at the time, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that just sort of fell by the wayside.
Well, I think somebody he wanted me to do his show.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. 6 feet under.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Undertaker, I'd do it for you. I won't do it for nobody else.
But you have to go to Tampa.
Have to go what?
You have to go to Tampa. He's not going to Austin or wherever you live.
We got to use this camera I got right here. Yeah. So.
Right.
All right, man.
On that basis, I know this is a bit of a shorter one, but as I said before we went on air, I've got a chest infection and I'm struggling here. We've got to film Ask Dutch Anything straight afterwards, which, by the way, incidentally, the email to contact us for Ask Dutch Anything to submit your question for consideration, questionsfordutch@gmail.com. I'll get through that email eventually one day without a flub. Until then, we will see you on Sunday. Dutch, we the people.
We the people. See you then.